Hey guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today we're back over on our YouTube account and we're doing a little bit of catch up with a couple different things. We put a little vote up there. We put a little survey up there. Looks like a lot of people are saying the awakened version of Thoren looks decent, looks amazing. Some are questioning his ability. So we did our test day. We showed kind of what he was doing, and I don't know exactly where he's going to be used, if he's going to be used. So wait to build him when he is released on Tuesday. Now we know normal iteration. Monday we'll see the patch notes. Tuesday we will see the hero up live, which means we'll have the ability to summon him, but we're not seeing him used on the test server yet, which gives me kind of a little bit of caution because again, we're not seeing him in there yet. We're not seeing him in the Curse Realm Nightmare Corridor. The Treasure Scramble might take a couple iterations, might try to find out exactly where he fits in, if it's going to be a niche formation, what's it going to look like. So in today's live stream, want to answer some questions. If you got any questions, go ahead and pop them in there. I know a lot of them do pop up. Looks like Tommy is here. Jeff, Easy is here. Arco is here. Happy Sunday. What's going on, Keith? And Scriper as well. So I want to go through here and I want to farm up some of the tower. Now this, of course, is a big part that players miss. If you overlook, if you really miss the King's Tower, guys, this is the #1 place to get every single thing you need within AFK Arena. Going through here, farming these out will never do you wrong. You get not only your Stargazer Scrolls, but you get your Time Emblems out of here. You also get a lot of cores. You get a lot of red chests, a lot of diamonds, essence out of the main one. You can go in here and you can farm this pretty much forever, unless you're very, very high level capping these out. But there's going to be a point where you can't farm these anymore, and we're kind of getting there. So I want to run through and again, kind of focus on running through here, finishing out all of these tower formations. So even if you grind and spend, of course, on auto a little while doing this, you can get them done pretty well. What's going on, MC? I think it will be good for the Towering campaign. Yeah, that's what I kind of worry when it comes to that, Skyper, is because Tower, not too concerned about. We're doing well in the Tower right now without that awakened version of Thoren, and the exact same in the campaign. So, of course, I feel like he's a hero. Yes, we could probably put in formations. We could use him in a couple different places in the campaign. But is he going to be a big one that's kind of a requirement to build? That could be a game-changing hero. That I don't know. When do you unlock the Celestial or Hypo Towers? I know it is much later than it should be. I know, I don't remember offhand. If somebody knows, definitely pop it in there. I know when I believe it's what, 16 or 18, when it is the regular faction towers. Celestial and Hypo are much later, 26, 28 maybe. I don't remember offhand. It's been such an incredible long time, but making progression. A lot of players, when they unlock the Celestial and the Hypo towers, they don't have any heroes to put in there, or they just have 2 or 3 heroes to put in there. But I want to say it's a lot later than I thought it should be, when they really should. Do you see more utility with the awakened version of Eron? We do a little bit, and the thing with him is they're running him with Ulna. That's a big one. What's going on, Darren? You recommend summoning Randall? Is he good? Yes. So I definitely, Starduster, I would summon Randall for the fact that not only is he agility support, but as a support hero, there is a couple formations that is being used. Greyborn Tower, of course, is going to be used. And when you think about the hero itself, relatively easy to get because Randall is a primary 4 faction hero. So you can put him in the wish list. You can summon him up. You can also do those focused desired summons. Yeah, he is in a couple formations. Even looking as of today, Randall is in a couple formations. Thoren Cheese with the new Thoren. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So Thoren Cheese, yeah, with the new Thoren. It seems like overall level deficiency, I don't know how well the new version of Thoren is going to work. That was kind of my concern, is looking at the skills and abilities he does possess. How well and where is he going to be used? And of course, thinking of a lot of support heroes, you want Thoren to die. So you don't want anything that is going to keep him from dying. He is triggered from essentially dying, which again, kind of the Thoren Cheese. The trigger for him to get stronger is dying in formation. So anything support-wise that does damage mitigation or will keep him alive, you don't want to use, which is kind of interesting. For once, I make it on time, but I have to leave to brunch. Oh, have fun at brunch. Hopefully eat something well. I don't know what to do with Awakened Entendre. Honestly, the Awakened version of Entendre is another one that is super niche in formations. With that Awakened version of Entendre, requires a pretty big build out for her. And looking at formations, there are only a few very niche places, like I said, that she is being used. Multiple formations. Again, we're seeing her every now and then, but if you don't have the Awakened version of Entendre, you're just putting another hero in there. Tower-wise, game changer. Absolutely. When it comes to the Mauler Tower and not having a lot of good heroes in there, yes, the Awakened version of Entendre can do incredibly well. Can I ask you the best way to get a decent amount of mythic gear for free? Is it the guild store or sometimes Labyrinth, or waiting through the campaign? Honestly, when it comes to gear and when it comes to mythic gear, the best way to get it for free is AFK rewards. There's a point where gear has very minimal effect when you're building it out. Gear is going to come with time. There's a few different ways to get gear. Guild store, I probably wouldn't buy gear out of the guild store because now we have so many options. And if you are buying gear in the guild store, the only thing, Dory, that I would buy would be my dimensional gear. The rest of the gear, again, is going to come with time. I wouldn't put too much time and effort in there. If you look at other things like making advancement in hero levels, building out heroes, even if you don't have the highest level gear, you'll still do incredibly well within there with what you have. Gear comes in time. If you try to rush it, and again, especially because of the guild store having, Hildwyn in there, having Eugene, having our insignias in there, having our emblems in there, there are so many things that are more important than gear within AFK Arena. I would probably wait. Should I build Eron or the Awakened version of Sophia? Both of them are very strong, do very well. I like Sophia personally for the fact that she is a support hero. That's one thing to remember, Muhammad, is the support heroes have a tendency to last a lot longer than we normally see when it comes to some of the damage dealing heroes. They're a lot easier to replace than some of the support heroes, and the longevity of the support heroes do usually work a little bit longer. What's going on, Mesmer? Thanks for joining us for the stream. I've gotten the Hypo Tower struggle to 896. Recommendation teams have higher tree levels. Wonder if that's why I struggle, or huge RNG. So the RNG, the big thing, Z, is in the towers, guys, you have two options. This is really it when it comes to towers, when it comes to farming these and really pushing these a lot. There are only two options. Option number one is levels. When you think of levels in the strength of all the heroes within the towers, you can make a crazy amount of progression if you are leveled, if you're using the resonating crystal. Levels make a massive difference in here. If you don't want to get the levels, if you're not focusing on the resonating crystal, the second part of that is building out the heroes, and for a majority of them, overbuilding the heroes. That is the only two really good ways to farm and push a ton of progression in here. My personal preference when it comes to levels, I do like to go the level route, because even lower level or lower really performance heroes will work very well in this game mode if you have the levels. Even when it comes to campaign formations, looking today, this account is very over leveled. I know D2 kind of did the same thing. Over leveling or really focusing on building up your essence, building up the resonating crystal. When it comes to martial ratings, like we see with the Abyssal Expedition, tower formations like we're doing right in here, campaign formations, they are driven by levels. If you don't have the levels on the heroes, you're not going to make the difference. Elder Tree doesn't have as much difference or really make such an impact as we see with levels. Levels are where it is to really, really push progression in there. I'm changing my name from the legend to this one, Zeeth22, working on my Mauler team. Yeah, Mauler Tower, Darren, is always the one which is just a struggle. Guys, if you look at anything, and it's crazy to think that in 5 years, Darren, the Mauler Tower has been the struggle forever. 1 team, 2 teams, 3 teams, the Mauler Tower has been the struggle forever. Made it a little bit easier when we got the Awakened version of Brutus, but still, that has been, has absolutely been the struggle forever. What's going on, David from Croatia? Hope everything is going over there. Interesting, Awakened Solus is the first Awakened in Companions, and no time emblems needed, just have 5 Awakened Wilders. Yeah, I'm gonna actually pick up and I'm gonna start covering AFK companions pretty shortly. Haven't had any time, got to rework a little bit of the schedule, but yes, I'm gonna go ahead and I know the awakened version of Solus in companions. I don't know exactly what they're doing with the game. It seems at this point it's going to be a standalone game, so it's going to be independent of AFK Arena. Definitely want to check it out and see what it's all about. So we'll be covering it on here. AFK Journey, as much as I did like the game, the time sink on that was huge. Not going to be playing AFK Journey, but if I have one account here in AFK Arena, one account in AFK Companions, we can cover everything very well in a pretty short amount of time by covering it with just the 2 accounts. It would definitely work. What's going on, Major? Thank you, Will Builder. Yeah, Mohammed. Like I said, honestly, support heroes, awaken support heroes, and even thinking of what you just said with the awakened version of Solus, that is still a very early 3-year ago support hero that we've seen. Still has a ton of utility within AFK Arena, still being used. What's going on, Jordan? Is it worth pulling Aziz from the Stargazer to complete the Awakened Belinda team? I don't think so. I don't think Aziz is really used anywhere. Really, the Awakened version of Belinda team at this time, Zeeth, not really being used. Yeah, you can get him out of the shop. Summoning him, not worth it. And getting him out of the shop, honestly, probably getting him to 1 star, if anything. Because again, you're building a hero that is so far behind. There might not be a point. There might not be a point where he's used. Don't forget about how bad Lightbearers. Lightbearers were not as bad as the Maulers. Maulers were always the really bad faction because Lightbearers always, and if you remember going back, way back, Dusty, Lightbearers had Thane. The original version of Thane absolutely decimated if you built Thane up with a signature item. And this was long before we had engraving. This is long before we had furniture. If you had the original version of Thane for the Lightbearers, just absolutely dominated. Then if you put Belinda, the original version of Belinda, because again, this was long before Awakened Heroes, Belinda would buff Thane. Thane's crit would go through the roof if you had that plus 30 signature item. I love Thane. Thane was the original one. That was very awesome to see. Thank you for still doing the 1-5 with the new hero. Yeah, I always remember that, Major. When I go to check the new heroes, I always remember you saying that. And I actually had another subscriber actually say something about that, about doing the 1 verse 5 to see kind of where the new hero works. Again, it's going to be a big question mark. And honestly, even seeing it over on the test server, it's going to be a big question mark. What it's going to look like with the Awakened version of Thoren. It's still relatively early in relationship to where he's going to be used. And like I said, it was kind of weird that we're not seeing him used right now on the test server. Makes me kind of question where he's going to be. Is the new beast good? Yes. The new beast is very good. Even looking at the new build, that new beast is going to make a big difference and I really think that new beast is going to be meta. Just because of the way that it works, the things that it can do, skills and abilities of the new beast, yes. Now, of course, new beast, you don't have to pass Muhammad. You get up the beast resonance level, you get all of the beasts unlocked. Even looking at my account right here, when the new beast drops, I'm going to have the new beast, of course, day 1 built to level 18, completely maxed out. Do not underestimate and do not overlook building up the beast resonance. Honestly, I did it for an incredible amount of time. I regretted it because we were not making progression in the Cursed Realm, Nightmare Corridor, or the Treasure Scramble like we should have been without the beasts. Once I built them to 18, and once you do get them to 18, they're done. They are completely done at that point. You don't have to worry about them. I really don't pay any attention to the beasts anymore because I get them all built out to 18, which makes it super, super easy to have them built. Can Awakened Taylene still work? Yeah, the Awakened version of Taylene, you can still use, and I still do use in here. Even there's the original version of Taylene. The Awakened version of Taylene is right here as well for that SP effect. Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, the heroes will still work. Is it going to be worth maybe swapping it? In the future, it could, but there's also a lot of heroes. Just because a hero is no longer being used in some formations, it doesn't really negate how effective the hero is. And again, thinking of the Awakened version of Taylene, older hero, okay, we get it, but it still doesn't really negate any of the effectiveness, any of the formations that the Awakened version of Talene has done very well in. The formations and the meta formations will change, but overall the utility of the heroes don't really change that much. I have a question. I've been playing for close to 3 months and I have around 15 ascended heroes. Should I try only spending gems on the Stargazer? At that point, yes. If you have 15 ascended heroes, all of the common scrolls, all of your regular summons, Dio, will come from the regular ones. Now's the point where with that many ascended heroes that you want to farm the heroes like crazy. That is really definitely want to start it. And like what Mesmer just said, yes, summon Liberta first. Liberta is still the #1 highest utility hero that we have in AFK Arena. Any formation that you can put kind of a hero in, he's working in. We see the utility of this hero very, very high, which is awesome to see. Our artifacts from Ghoulish Gallery or the Trials of God. So yeah, the best ones, Dory, will be the collections from the Ghoulish Gallery. They will replace in their entirety all of your class-specific artifacts. A lot of players are still building those class-specific artifacts for the simple fact that you do have the ability to get a lot of resources out of there as well. So you can go ahead, you can farm, you can pull all of your resources out of there. But yes, the collections will far eclipse everything else. What's going on? Is it Kyle? Greetings from Brazil. Thanks for joining us from Brazil. I already have Liberta ascended with 1 star. Yeah, then you want to focus on, if you have Liberta, Dio, then of course the next ones are going to be Aurelia, looking at Lavatoon, looking at Demia, even looking at Liberta. Those are going to be the next pretty much 4 that are the consensus out there. What is the consensus on Randall? I would build Randall. Now, the reason being, when you look at Randall, specifically looking at that hero, a majority of formations are using Randall when it comes to the Curse Realm and the Nightmare Corridor. We are seeing him being used as a support hero. Now, of course, campaign formations might not be used. Tower, absolutely, because you're limited with the heroes you have in there. Randall seems like he's going to be a pretty good hero. In addition, I don't know the effectiveness of Randall in combination with the Awakened version of Thoren. That is going to be one to really think. So there is level 960. That, of course, takes us to a full clear of the Celestial Sanctum. That is done in its entirety. 960 is the cap that we have of the new update. Now we'll do the same with the Infernal Fortress, farming all of the resources and everything we have within this game mode, just continuing to make progression here, which is awesome. Appreciate your work, man. Really awesome. Haven't missed a video in the last 5 to 6 months. Oh, thank you, Iron. I love doing the videos, guys. It's so cool to have you know, the outlet like YouTube to talk to everybody who loves AFK Arena. That's the other reason I love doing the live streams as well. Being able to talk to you guys about AFK Arena, because you are the audience and you are literally the only ones in my life that I can talk to about this game. What's your thoughts on new Thoren? Is he used? I would wait. So, Stefan, wait about 2 weeks, see if and when and where the Awakened version of Thoren used. We know as it sits right now, the Awakened version of Lucius, yes, is being used. We've seen that. It's been proven. He's in a lot of formations. We have to see if or when Thoren is being used. It's a question mark right now. It's really a question mark. I'm in chapter 68 and I have Awakened Entendre SI40 can be brutal. I almost see her in every boss battle. And yeah, Mauler Tower, absolutely crazy, David. And I feel like it takes a while for the attrition of a new hero. So again, when you think of the Awakened version of Entendre, it's already been a couple iterations of where she's being used, when she's being used in formations, and even looking at where she's being used, you know, in different places. And of course, survivability wise is what we have an issue with. If you have the ability to keep her alive, it can work incredibly well. But overall, it just takes time to see when and where and if these heroes are being used. And there's a lot where, hey, you know, and I always resort back to when we got Joker and Queen to AFK Arena. We had Joker and Queen were introduced. Joker, of course, was used right out of the gate. Queen, 0 use. Didn't see it for 3 months, 5 months. About 6 months in, we started seeing utility with Queen within the 5 pull. And then for the next following years, Queen was used in a lot of different formations. So again, it might take a little bit of time to find exactly if and where these heroes are being used, but it might actually come in time. Is the new Celestial good? Yes. The new Celestial Aurelia is very, very good. Can you explain what erosion is? So let me get through this one. I'll show you erosion. And a lot of those are kind of weird. Anyone have any tips on where to spend money? I would like to spend money, but the ratios which you get stuff seem they are mort. So we can look at it in a minute. There's a couple things we can look at. In your opinion, who should I build next? Still haven't built Awakened Sophia in all this time. I would. And the reason is with the Awakened version of Sophia in there, you'll get a lot of utility. You are getting a lot of utility in there. So what to buy? So let's go through this because this is relatively easy. So the best thing to buy in AFK Arena, period, hands down, Mort, is your advancement bundles. Now the advancement bundles, I believe, are $20 if I remember correctly. With the $20, they give you 45,000 diamonds, which of course you can go ahead and you can pump like crazy in the Stargazer with all of the diamonds that you get out of there. Now, if you want consistency, longevity of play, monthly cards, I buy these all of the time. This is going to be a place where over the course of 30 days, you're getting an incredible amount of loot out of these monthly cards. And the other one is the Noble Society. You can see right here, we have elemental cores. We're getting bonus cores out of here, but you're talking thousands of cores that we are getting out of here with the premium pass. The Champions of Espria and Twisted Bounties are the two that you really want to focus on. That runs you about $50 if you're picking up the monthly card in the Noble Societies. If you do not have heroes, now this is very specific to where you are in the account, depending on if you have heroes or don't have heroes. If you're still missing a lot of the meta heroes, this is amazing for the Regal Rewards to buy. If you're still missing a lot of the regular heroes, if you're missing some Celestial Hypos, if you have most of the metas built, I wouldn't get these anymore. Most of the time, you're not going to pull anyone you need. But if you are still earlier to AFK Arena, these are very worth it. And this superb Hero Elite Stone is the one you want to get, not the one that is further. This is the one that you want to focus on because you get so many more stones to get some of the Awakened heroes. Even looking at the more expensive one, in my opinion, it is not really worth it at all. How goes the Rift? So I told you guys last time, MC, that I was going to farm the Rift. We're at 324. So I stopped at 324. This is actually where we finished it out. The Rift, again, relatively easy to get and finish this out. Even when I had some newer free-to-play accounts, we were finishing out all 300 floors of the Rift. We were pushing these a little bit to try to get one of these frames, but you can see rewards floor 403 and above. If you want to get this frame, you have to go up 403 floors or higher. And of course, that is a moving average. So right here, you can see the season, we have 25 days left, meaning when it comes to the Rift, when it comes to those Rift frames, it is going to move as players continue over the next 25 days to push higher. So there is a lot of farming out of there, which is kind of crazy. So I know we were talking about erosion, and I know Mesmer knows a lot more about this with looking at the erosion, because I think there's a few in here, if I remember correctly, crit damage resistance, that do use a lot of the erosion. And you also notice that when you have a 30, you don't get all of those secondary skills. It's just right here. When you start getting past the plus 30 signature items is where you start seeing all of these three, the crit, the magic suppression, the physical pierce. That is where you start getting a lot more. So right there is the erosion. So if you go on this little thing, it shows down here, the erosion is right there. So 14, when erosion suffers health loss, the amount of health loss depends on the difference between the attacker's erosion and the target character's buffer. So those are the two. And you'll notice with the abilities in here, they are both sides. So erosion and buffer are the opposites. Dragon Speak Resist, Dragon Speak Amplification are the opposites. There's one that offsets the other depending where you are. And if I remember correctly, when it comes to a majority of these stats, this is very important when it comes to PvP because in most places, Nightmare Corridor, Cursed Realm, I believe even older campaign formations, tower places, few different places, they don't have any. So if you have some erosion, if you have buffer, regardless of what you have, they do not have any in different game modes. The enemy is set to 0. This makes a big difference in PvP. So every 1 point of difference increases or decreases the loss by 1%. The health loss effect can be decreased up to 90%. So if I had 90% erosion, you would be losing, the health loss effect would be capped at that 90% on when they suffer health loss. This, of course, will amplify for some heroes the damage that they're doing and the health loss that they have. Meaning, if you're stacking some heroes with erosion and the opponent or the enemy does not have buffer, they are going to do more and more damage based on this up to that 90% cap, which I know we can't get even really near close to that 90% erosion, but that is where this is going to do more damage. And it also depends on some of the skills that the heroes possess that are kind of triggered from erosion, which I know before. What's going on, D2? I know before they did have a list of heroes that are kind of triggered by erosion, and their skills are more based on erosion. When you look at it in here, I know it doesn't say it really upfront, like, hey, this skill is erosion, but there are, and I've seen a couple lists where erosion does make a big difference. Same with physical pierce, same with, physical resistance. There is a counterpoint to both. For every 15 points of erosion Aurelia has, allies gain an extra 5 points of physical pierce. So stacking erosion on a hero like this, so right here, this ability, specifically erosion. So if you're going in here and you're building out something, even doing a collection on here that has a lot of erosion. So if you're going through here and you're looking at all the skills you have, the higher the erosion, the bigger, even right there, erosion, the higher the erosion that you're giving this hero, looking at that last skill, the more you're going to be giving back onto your team. Meaning, if I'm stacking Aurelia with a ton of erosion through the ability to get the collections, the physical pierce is going to go through the roof, meaning heroes like the awakened version of Athalia, physical pierce is going to do a lot more damage, up to that 40 points. So you got to stack a bunch of erosion on here. And we see this with a lot with buffer, with a couple other things. It really offsets what the enemy is. And some heroes now, since they've introduced it, older heroes, it doesn't really make a big difference, but newer heroes, it does make a big difference. Kind of a rundown, kind of a, it's difficult to see, but again, some heroes are triggered with erosion. Some heroes, there we go, there's our 960. Some heroes need erosion to give all of the other buffs like Aurelia to the rest of the team. And of course, like I said, some damage from some heroes are based on that erosion. Yes, it's very complicated when you want to break it down and really get into it. Thomas, there's a lot. And again, the big thing with all of those secondary skills is the treasure scramble, is the LC, the PvP aspect in here, because of course, your heroes are going to have stats. The enemy heroes, which are other players' heroes, are going to have, you have erosion, they have buffer, vice versa. So team versus team, it does make a really big difference when you're going in here, and depending on exactly who you're fighting, because of all of those secondary stats through here, and focusing on really what they have in a bunch of different modes, it's difficult. Yeah, it's a health loss over time. That's basically what it is. But that health loss can be offset by buffer, which is kind of crazy. Because again, it's very dependent on all of the secondary stats that they've continued to add to this game, and it makes a big difference. And that's where the collections come in with a massive important part, is the collections themselves, because you can stack and building up the same collection on a multitude of ways. And look at that, Asta! How's Awakened Thoren doing on the test server? Asta, as of right now, so we checked it last night. Yep, just what Mort said. We are not seeing the Awakened version of Thoren used in any formations. I looked at the Cursed Realm, I looked at Nightmare Corridor, looked at the Treasure Scramble, didn't see the Awakened version of Thoren being used on the test server. And I'm really worried and concerned on how his skill set, I feel like he might be niche in a couple different formations. But it's going to take time. I know it's going to take quite a bit of time before we see where he's used, if he's used, how he's used. I think he's going to take longer than we even seen with a couple of the other heroes, just because he's very unique in the ability where you can't have a team that keeps him alive, and you can't have a team that buffs him too much, because all of his attack rating and all of the boosts that he gets are triggered by his death. So even I ran the Awakened version of Thoren with the Awakened version of Shamira. Didn't work at all, because Shamira doesn't let Thoren die. Thoren needs to die to get the attack rating buff. So it's very interesting to see because, of course, he has to die to get the buff, but there's some heroes that he's not going to be able to run with at all. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how effective he is. So I'll have to build Awaken Lucius or Eron. Yeah, both of them are good. Lucius is one that you have to remember if you're building the Awaken version of Lucius. It is a very, very, very high build. I mean, we're talking, I believe we built him a plus 40 signature item. We're way over that 9 of 9 furniture. And then, of course, for the engraving, I believe that the recommended engraving on their Asta is 72, if I remember correctly, because of the defense and everything else. 72 is the recommended engraving in there. So it is very, very high. How bad would it be to build Awaken Belinda to Awaken version of Lucius? Both of them are used. I mean, even when you think, when you look at the Awaken version of Belinda, even as of today, there are some iterations of the Cursed Realm Nightmare Corridor where we're still seeing the Awaken version of Belinda and the Awaken version of Lucius. Both of them are being used. There's more Stargazer Scrolls, guys. That's why we're farming these out. But like I said, there's a lot of different formations where Belinda and Lucius are still being used and really still being used as the best in slot in there. What's going on, Alo? Finally caught a live stream. Thank you for joining us. Is there any new code? Nope, not of right now. Because I have not seen a new code. I don't know what's coming. Usually they'll release a bunch right around the Halloween events, which we know the Halloween events are coming up on the test server very shortly. We have a couple new skins that are coming, a few other things that are coming. I need one copy of Cetrena. Yeah, Cetrena is not the best hero probably to be focusing on. But to each their own. If that's the hero that you're looking to build, how is Randall doing? So Randall is being used very well, Mystical, and being used in a few different formations. We're starting to see Randall being used in the Cursed Realm and the Nightmare Corridor. I feel like as a regular, faction hero, Graveborn faction hero, Randall would be one to absolutely put into your wish list. You want to build him out. He has quite a bit of utility. We're seeing him being used. And of course, he doesn't require a massive build. I have him, I believe, at a plus 30 signature item with the 9 of 9 furniture, almost at the 9 of 9. And then the 30 engraving right now. So overall, definitely working. Randall is one, again, not super expensive to build. In addition to that, you will always see the hero like that being used within the Graveborn Tower because we're lacking a lot of the support heroes within there. Absolutely going to be used in a few different places. And we're seeing him in a few different places. We really are. Question, I've awakened Shamira, Leica, Athalia, awakened Sophia. Who would I make next? Was thinking Gavis. Yeah, Gavis is one that I feel like he's not going to be going anywhere because that awakened version of Gavis is so unique in what he does and how he does it. Even looking at a lot of different formations, if you're building out Gavis, even though he is a mage, he is for the most part kind of a support hero. So we see him almost playing a support role with the way that Gavis operates and keeping your team alive where they'd normally be dead. Gavis, again, is one where I feel like isn't going to be going anywhere and really going to hang out in the tier list a lot longer than normal heroes would. Because again, he's not too focused and concerned with the damage. But we're still seeing him used a lot with essentially the utility of keeping teams alive, which is good. Yeah, I mean, Gavis is one, again, I feel like if you didn't have Gavis, you could put some others, and players do put some other heroes in there instead of Gavis. In some formations, like the Awakened version of Lucius, in comparison to Gavis, if you have Lucius, or if you don't have Lucius, you don't have the formation. That's kind of something to remember is with the Awakened version of Lucius, if you have him, you can definitely build a formation. It's all built around him. He's the high damage dealer. If you don't have him, you don't have the formation at all. You have to switch it into something different. There's really no give or take, no flexibility with some of the formations, because if you're missing the one absolute key hero within that formation, it's not going to work. Gavis or Lucius, again, Lucius, I feel like you have to build up really high, but Lucius will work incredibly well. And definitely the hero itself the Awakened version of Lucius built works super well. Gavis, yes, gonna have a lot of utility. Both of those are in the SS tier, so definitely both top 2 heroes. Just depends who you have, who you want to build, and who you can borrow. Because honestly, looking again, thinking of the Cursed Realm and Nightmare Corridor, if you have the ability to borrow Gavis or borrow the Awakened version of Lucius, not a big run to really build them because of the ability to borrow them. Just built Awakened Athalia and Mahira collection to +2. Any other collections that need the +2? There's a couple in there, Alo, and most of them are the damage dealing collections. Like having the +2 collection for Oden works incredibly well. I know on the Awakened version of Belinda, there's a couple in there that they recommend having the +2. And again, it's some of the min-maxing with the damage dealers in there that you'll run some very strong collections. Athalia, yes, absolutely, that Source collection or the Athalia collection. Source collection is another one, +2 will work well. The Oden collection, again, another one that will work well. Just build them over time. Because even thinking like we were talking earlier about Erosion and some of the other ones, there's kind of a break with the heroes where, hey, I have to have one collection. Let's say, for instance, the Awakened version of Athalia, because I know that's one you just built. You have to have the Awakened version of Athalia built with the collection, but the collection will be built in 3 different forms, depending on who you're using it for. That's where, in my opinion, the collections get pretty broken, is when you look at what the hero uses in different formations. For instance, even when we go out here, and I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about, is when you look at collections and thinking of, let's say, for the Awakened version of Lucius, his collection needs to be very, very strongly focused in getting the defense up, which of course, looking through here, you can see we have some of these that are skill level 2s, but building up the defense and stacking the defense in here is going to be the most beneficial for the Awakened version of Lucius. That doesn't mean that all of the other heroes or really any other tank classifications are going to use the exact same collection, building up defense. In that case, even looking at the Awakened version of Shamira, we know the Awakened version of Shamira in her collection is focused on and needs in its entirety HP. So again, we have 2 similar tanks running the exact same collections. Those 2 collections can be built very, very differently based on what the hero needs within the tanking class. And literally, you can go through here for any of the classifications and see, you know, who needs the Zolrath, who needs the Athalia collection, what collection is built. But then it's also the subset of how does that collection need to be built to fit a specific hero. And again, that's why they kind of opened up the collections, that it's not one per individual. You can put one collection on a lot of different individuals, which is really the reason once you start building these up a lot higher, even here, Physical Pierce, this is a really strong Athalia collection, skill level 2. A lot of Physical Pierce, we have some attack in here. And of course, looking at this, we can put this on a few different heroes, all 4 right here, which is the reason, again, when you think of building these, collections will never end, which is kind of crazy. It is kind of crazy because, again, it depends on what hero is using it, but it also depends on the other side of it, where the hero is using it. For instance, when it comes to collections that are used within the Cursed Realm and the Nightmare Corridor, those collections are usually very different than what we see in the Treasure Scramble or campaign formations, depending if, you know, you want the Zolrath collection to keep heroes alive. Do you want to run the Mahira collection to keep them alive? Or do you need a lot more erosion, a lot more buffer? It really depends what you need, which is, again, kind of crazy. That's when you start getting down to really the nuts and bolts of AFK Arena and, of course, min-maxing some of the whale players. It's crazy how in-depth this can get when you're focusing on collections and also what the heroes really do need. In your opinion, which hero was the best throughout the entirety of AFK Arena? Honestly, Mystical, for me, I still love Rowan. I want to see the Awakened version of Rowan. I would love to see it. Again, Rowan is probably, for me personally, where my journey in AFK Arena, when I was in chapter 18, Rowan was introduced. I put in Rowan. I went to like 24, 26. I crushed so many chapters having Rowan, and he wasn't even built up all the way, but Rowan was incredible through so much of the content. There's always, you know, kind of the regular ones when you think of what are some of the heroes that were the carry. Ainz absolutely was a dominating carry. Lucretia was another one that was a massive, massive dominating hero within AFK Arena. It just really took time, and the meta, as they moved on, they kind of fell out of formations. How do you get the +2 skills on collections? So Eddie, that is a great question. So there is only one way, and only one way to guarantee without a doubt 100% that you are going to get a level 2 collection. That is using, when you build your collection, you use Miracle Worker, which is really the mythic emblem or the mythic totem you're going to be using in there. The combination of Miracle Worker will unlock that secondary slot. Then you want to use the legendary level up. That will give you guaranteed 1 level up in there. The third one is going to be the purple level up, which has an RNG factor. But the only other way to guarantee that you get that second level up is through the card, which I'll show you guys in just a minute when we hop out of here. So again, when you think of the ability to build up level 2 collections, the only way that you can guarantee it is, let's say for instance, we were building a Rowan collection, which I did just build one. You need Miracle Worker, which is this one right here. Miracle Worker is the one you have to have in one of these slots, followed with a level up. That will guarantee you 1 single level up. Now, of course, for that third slot, you want to use this Supreme skill set, or if you do not want to use this, you can, of course, use another legendary one. If you do use that, you have to have one of these custom skill scrolls. You can see we have 2. So Miracle Worker, the level up, plus a custom skill scroll will guarantee you 100% you will get a level 2 collection, period. That's it. That would be the big one. You will guarantee a level 2 collection with both of those being used in conjunction. You are guaranteed to get that level 2 collection, which you will. You will get both of those 2 levels collections. Is Kelthon worth it yet? Honestly, Kelthon is a hero where I would say he does still have a lot of utility in a lot of different places. I kind of question for how much longer. Yellow, that's kind of the question, is how much longer is he going to be used? That, of course, is a very big question mark because, again, when we look at like the Hippo Tower, of course, he's going to be used in those places. We're starting to see him fall out of formations. I would say probably the next 3 to 6 months. We probably won't see Kelthon at all, or if we have another damage-dealing Hippo, Kelthon might be replaced in its entirety. We're going to have to see. Question number 1 today, Awaken Sophia or Thoren? So as of right now, the Awakened version of Sophia, we know the utility, we know where she's being used, has a lot of utility in a lot of different game modes. Awakened version of Thoren is a question mark. Right now, guys, we don't make any really, any poll, any really comment at the Awakened version of Thoren. Like I say, every single time that we do this, wait 2, probably maybe even 3 weeks with Thoren before we see exactly where and if the Awakened version of Thoren is being used. And of course, he could be a hero that we see released, could be some adjustments, could not be used at all. It's going to be pretty interesting. How useful would you think the Treat Spectator will be with the level 18 ability? Son, you have a double cheat death. Guys, that's it. You don't have to say anything else. If you have the ability to keep heroes alive that would have died in formation, it is really the very big, the Treat Spectator. That is coming out, of course, with the patch on Tuesday. 100% absolutely going to have to build him. He's going to go meta. The Beast is going to be meta. Even using him, and a lot of players were running through the voyages. So the Thrilling Voyage with the new Beast Voyage, they were running through the new one, which of course with Treat Spectator is just broken. You can literally walk through the entire thing because I feel like they put a lot more focus and build on the Beast. It's absolutely crazy. You think there will be another dimensional here before year ends? I think so, Tommy. I would say right now, knowing that we have about 2.5 months through the end of the year, I think they might do a dimensional. I don't think another dimensional hero would be a crossover, but I think they will release another dimensional hero, or in fact, it could be another Draconic hero, which I want to do a couple summons for land in here. Yeah, it could be another dimensional hero that we see released, but it could also just be another Draconic hero. And a lot of players are kind of questioning what Dolly's saying over on the test server. We have to see. I have an old account. We haven't played in a while. I want to start a new account, but what is the best starter wish list? I have a video for it. If you look back in the guide section, KG, there is a beginner's guide in there that has the wish list on where it should be. And a majority of ones pretty easy to go in there and do. Today I achieved F9 on every single hero there is. Wow, that is awesome, D2. Congratulations. Awaken Wukong, yes. I would love to see the Awaken version of Wukong. We are continuing to buy and build them out of the shop, but Wukong is one I would love to see an Awaken version of Wukong, just because, again, we've used him so long, and honestly, he needs to be there. Yeah, Iran definitely will work, and again, Iran's being used. Guys, if you want really a testament when it comes to building out heroes, who is being used, what is the utility? One, you can look at the tier list video that we put out every single month, but you can also just run through the top 5 players in the leaderboards. Even looking here, thinking of the Awakened version of Antandra and Aurelia. Guys, when you get that plus 40 signature item on Aurelia, you can see, guys, 17 billion damage, 11 billion damage right there. Kelthin still holding strong, but you can see this formation has changed a lot. Like we talked about earlier with the Awakened version of Lucius, right there, guys, 25 billion damage from Lucius does require a very, very big build out. Even here, Belinda, again, we talked about earlier today, the Awakened version of Belinda still having a lot of utility in a lot of different game modes. This is exactly where it's coming from. The Awakened version of Belinda, there's Liberta. Then, of course, we have 3 buffers in here working very well in here. Again, looking at the Draconic version of Gwen, super, super strong, 28 billion. And then, of course, Sophia's in there as a buffer. Then we do have Iran. Now, again, a lot of players talking about how effective is the Awakened version of Iran. We're starting to see him in formations like this as the highest damage dealer, as the best in slot. We're also seeing him used in PvP run with Ulna, doing very well in both of those aspects in there. Then, of course, our last one is hidden. Most players hide that last one. Blossoms is not. Look at this, guys. Interesting enough, looking here, that is the Awakened version of Solus. You're talking about a hero that specifically is 3+ years old in an Awakened support role, very similar to the Awakened version of Sophia, still being and really pulling a ton of damage within this formation. And then, of course, we have Leica right down here in the bottom, but the Awakened version of Solus from, again, 3 years ago, still being used in very niche formations, still seeing a little bit more utility in there. It's awesome. It's very cool. Wonder if Awakened Thoren can be used as a solo unit cheese team. Probably can to a certain point. Definitely can be. Which Awakened hero should I build from the Mystic Star Zone? So Mystic Star Zone, and I missed the first day. Shame on me. Mystic Star Zone, of course, gives you this chest right here. And looking at the priority in here, my priority and my tier list that I do recommend specifically is first would be right here. The Awakened version of Athalia would be my first one, would be my primary one. Secondary would probably at this point be Shamira. Again, utility-wise, Shamira very unique in what she does. Then I would probably look at Leica because, again, thinking of formations, thinking of utility, Athalia, Leica, and Shamira are some of the heroes that are very unique in what they do, or they are the absolute best in slot when it comes to damage dealing. Then after that, you could do Sophia or you could do Belinda. Either one, again, seeing a ton of utility. Sophia, the Awakened version of Sophia, is still doing incredibly well, still having a lot of utility. The only one out of all of these that we're not seeing, unfortunately, is Matria. Maybe in a very niche formation, we might see them in the Hypo Tower, but honestly, this is one that has dropped off to a point. I don't really see her in formations anymore. I don't really use her, again, short of the Hypo Tower. I don't see her really in any formations at all. But yeah, I mean, going in there, it's free Awakened heroes, guys. They're literally giving us free Awakened heroes out of this chest. If you're going in there for the Star Zone, you want to make sure that, again, you're farming this out every single time. This one, I believe we didn't do too well. Looks like we're playing a little bit of catch up. But overall, you can see that we finished all of our time, 0 minutes remaining. Mystic Star Zone, we'll get some rewards out of there. And you know what? It's free. It is literally free rewards out of there, which I absolutely love. It's very cool to see. Yeah, he can solo teams. It's going to be interesting because, yeah, big level deficiency. We're going to have to see where Thoren does come in. Let me hop in the Draconic Isle. Now, of course, Dragonforge Trials, we have finished 10. We can get 1 star in here. Can't go any further, but that's okay because we're getting all 10 floors of loot out of this every single time. Now, in here, you only have 4 days left, guys. If you're building out our big, massive tank, and of course, we're starting to see him used in a couple different places. But honestly, Cragor, if you don't build him, you can actually use a couple other tanks in there. But overall, if you want to pick up any of the loot that's in here, you only have 4 more days. Dragon Temple, we have 37 emblems in here. We need 2 copies of land to actually build them up a little bit further, getting them to Mythic. Mythic is, of course, going to unlock the signature item. Yes, it's Queen. And that's where we talk about Azee. Queen was in that second formation. This is where some of the heroes that do very unique kind of niche things, Queen is used in there to group up all of the enemies, which makes a big difference. If you have a hero like the awakened version of Lucius, that has an AoE effect based on his positioning. Queen is going to put everyone together in a nice little clumped group. That AoE damage that we're seeing from the awakened version of Lucius is going to decimate that little tiny clumped group of heroes, putting them all together and doing a crazy amount of damage in there. All right, guys, we got 3 shots at this. Boom. Let's see what we can do. I'm hoping we get at least 1. Now in here, of course, some more Draconic emblems. 1, number 2, again, nothing. Number 3, could it be? It is not. Not going to see another copy. Maybe if we can get a single out of there. But of course, this is just literally dumping these insignias off of a cliff, hoping that we get a copy of this hero. So this is going to be another 37 emblems, guys, right down the drain with no more copies of land. Come on, 2 more. 1 more, which is the final one. Not another copy. So 37 closer. Just like I said before, guys, it is insane how expensive these highborn Draconic heroes are. It's crazy the cost of the heroes themselves and how long it takes to get the heroes. Now, of course, we built Gwen, we built Hildwyn. Just got to wait and see what comes next. There's a copy of Naru. Just going to take a long time. Now, of course, chests. Let's pop open some of these chests. I'm not even sure where some of these are from. I know a lot of these we got out of the Abyssal Expedition that's going on right now. So we'll pop these open. We'll scoop up some more diamonds in there, in here. And this is what we talked about, getting these monthly cards in the deluxe monthly card. Guys, this is giving me, look at this. That is 2 chests essentially every single day. You're getting red chests on a regular basis. 3 more of our time emblems, more red chests out of this one. Then we're getting a ton of cores. We're getting some additional cores out of the other chest, which is right here. We're getting shards out of the chest. That's why, like I said, if you're looking to buy things, the daily rewards in here are pretty good. I am happy with the rewards we're getting out of there. Then, of course, getting some more essence. That's pretty good. And it's really the combination of building this stuff up on a regular basis and never stopping building up all of these heroes. That even takes to 48,000 diamonds in there. Definitely building them out. And guys, if you haven't subbed to the channel, guys, we're trying to hit our 40,000 subscriber mark. So definitely have a little bit more time. Have you ever had the feeling of quitting in the last 5 years when not playing? How do you keep yourself from not? Because honestly, I'm selling my alt account to starting. So Retro, the big thing for me is there's a point in AFK Arena where new heroes, I take them for better or worse. It's kind of whatever it is. I've never considered quitting this game. I haven't thought of not playing it. Most of you know, over probably the past, 30 years at this point, I've only played a handful of games. This is something that I can put a lot of time and effort into, or I can put not a lot of really time and effort at all into the game. And I love the flexibility of doing that. The heroes that come out, again, you're always playing catch up. The game is always changing. It's not the stagnation of, every couple months there's an expansion or there's an update. I love having the ability to go in here and play the game when I want to, grind when I want to, being able to share it with you guys. And honestly, one of the biggest things that I love is being able to sit here and talk to you guys about AFK Arena. it for me is a ton of fun. There's never been a point where I've said, you know what, I'm done with this. It's boring. There's nothing to do. There is always something to do, and how much and how little you put in here, it does make a really big difference. I'm excited to see what's coming, what new heroes are coming, and what is going to be changing to this. It's always changing. I hope for some new events. I hope for some new things. And I feel even playing AFK Companions is going to be a little bit of a change, just how the game is kind of built. But I have played so many games and went through so many mobile games. And honestly, this is one that I always came back to. Would you build Lan or Gwen first? Honestly, I would build Lan. The reason being, when you think about Lan in relationship to Gwen, Lan, you are going to see a ton, and honestly, probably a very, very high amount of utility out of Lan long before you have Gwen built. So if you have Gwen up to Mythic, okay, works pretty well. If you have Gwen up to Ascended, okay, works pretty well. Lan, when you get to Mythic, Lan will have a crazy amount of utility. And of course, Gwen requires, just like the Awakened version of Lucius, a very big build out for Lan to work effectively. It does make a big difference when you're building out the heroes. And again, Lan, you're going to have a lot more utility than you're going to see with Gwen. If you can borrow Gwen for pretty much the two places that you need to use her, that's really all you have to do. I would definitely go in and I would definitely build out Lan long before I built out Gwen. Why don't they game AFK online with heroes that would be online? Like, I don't know. I've questioned a lot of things on why they do it. I don't know, honestly. There could be some really cool things and additions. And I feel like even here, this, of course, is one of my really big pet peeves that I've had for an incredible amount of time, is the way that they still do guild bosses. I think it's just absolute garbage in here. And I think that was the only two ones I needed. Yeah, let's go ahead and finish this. My big pet peeve is how they do guild bosses. So in here, guys, and if you played AFK Companions, if you caught some of my videos, the way they do guild bosses over there is the exact way they need to roll them out here. Even looking at guild bosses, for instance, into AFK Journey, they need to roll out the guild bosses like that in here. And I feel like that would even draw a lot of players in here. Even playing Guild of Guardians, if you checked out the other one, Guild of Guardians, all of the guild bosses are cumulative. You get rewards based on where your guild is as a team. They need to do it. And again, we've talked about it forever, and still they have done absolutely nothing with it, which is super disappointing that they haven't made any adjustments to the guild bosses over a crazy amount of time. They need to. They really do need to adjust the guild bosses and really make them a lot more viable. I would love it. Some of your presence in your videos, part of the gaming experience. So much thank for your time and effort. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Yoga. Mawa Yoga and Wellness. Thank you. Yeah, I love doing the videos, guys. Doing them on the finance channel, doing them here, doing them on Guild of Guardians. It's something that I've grown to love, and I love doing the videos. It's so cool. Not only do we get, a little bit of money from AdSense, which is good. Most of it goes back into the gaming community, but it's really cool to see. And we have a lot of scrolls in here. We're still trying to build out Randall a little bit further. You can see almost all of these are empty in the entirety. We can do a couple. Maybe we'll get an Awakened hero. That would be awesome to see in here. But I do love doing YouTube. I do love sharing it with you guys, making the videos. I play the games anyways. That was probably one of the big things when I started YouTube, was I'm already playing all the games and I love and spending the time and effort playing it. Why not go ahead and build it? Why not incorporate it into kind of the daily routine? Even going through here and sharing it with you guys, I get a lot accomplished in an hour when we're through here. It's very cool. Thank you for making me so much knowledgeable. I was such a noob before. We don't want noobs, guys. We want the education. And honestly, when you start looking through the content, when you start looking through, just even following wish list, there's a lot of things in this game that can set you back a lot. If you're not building some of the primary heroes, if you're missing some of the meta heroes, there are a lot of things in this game, honestly, that can be very detrimental to making your progression just based on building up heroes and building them up different ways. I think the next Draconic hero might be a Highborn. I hope not, Star. And honestly, they need to slow down, and not so much even on the hero releases. I'm not too worried about that. It's the Highborn Draconic heroes. If they're doing another Highborn Draconic heroes, for a majority of players, they are already far behind, and they're getting further and further behind with these Draconic heroes. We've been able to keep up quite a bit, but overall, starting to build out land. Land is just literally, we are dumping 50 to 60 insignias every single time to build out land. And unfortunately, we're not making really any headway at all, building out and really putting a lot more into land. I'm not buying insignias, but we're not making the headway that we need, or really having any luck to pull, you know, a double or even a single in 30 to 40 emblems. It's taking us a ton to go ahead and build out land, and it's going to still continue to take a ton. Because also remember, once we do get land built, that is going to be a lot more of the chests that we have in here. So we're going to need a lot more of the chests. And of course, looking at what we built out in here with all of these. So all of our epic Dragon Speak emblems, even Dragon Speak emblems, the regular ones, we are going to need a ton of them to build out the heroes in their entirety. It's going to take some time, and it's really going to take a long time to get those built out. Can you explain Talisman's ability, specifically part where he picks the foremost hero? Doesn't he pick the bottom? So Talisman, he's actually one that is a little bit older. Right here, let's look at his abilities. Of course, I think it is, which one are you looking at, Iron? Let me know. When the hero, the Firecracker returns the fall of the hero. I'm not sure which ability you're looking at. First time a hero uses their ultimate, Talisman will immediately use a Blessed Year one time without the beast energy. Duration of longevity, dodge and magical suppression. So I think it's in the actual skills. Firecracker, the furthest most Hypo and Greyborn. This is really cool because Hypo and Greyborn, this is the counter to both of those heroes, including the awakened version of Shamira. It can affect it quite a bit. A level 0, so at the start of battle, moves with the ally position foremost in the formation. So that is the highest one in the front. Increases the hero dodge and magic suppression. All right, so we have some survivability in there. If the hero it follows dies, it will pick another target to follow, prioritizing support heroes. So if you have a support hero in the formation, he's going to move to the support hero. When using the skill, Talisman leaps to an area the most concentrated with enemies, throws a Firecracker, just dealing some beast damage of its attack rating to surrounding enemies and blinding them. So that is the crowd control aspect right there. The accuracy and magic efficiency of the blinded enemies will be reduced significantly when the hero it follows inflicts or suffers damage. Talisman receives additional energy. So essentially, Talisman at the level 0 will follow pretty much a tank or someone who is going forward, dodge, magical suppression. So the damage mitigation right there is going up. There is going to be a point where the most concentrated amount of enemies, and again, thinking of the awakened version of Lucius, if you have all of those heroes clumped up into a nice tight circle, it is going to provide crowd control right there for 5 seconds, lowering accuracy and magical efficiency on the enemies within that clump. And of course, whenever the hero it follows takes damage, it is going to give beast energy to continue using the ultimate ability. Yeah, when it picks the foremost. So you'll notice when you go into a formation with Talisman, Talisman will follow the hero that is the closest. So there's the owl, which we could drop it in here. There's our whale. Most formations do use Talisman. And again, thinking of formations, you have to look, are there hypos? Are there Greyborns? That's going to make a big difference when you're fighting something like this. Dropping in a hero like Talisman, going to make a really big difference because you have a ton of Greyborn heroes in here. So slowing it down, you'll see Talisman when he comes in, moves right up, hops along right to the enemy side. As you've seen it right there, enemy side died, went to after Liberta, which of course is the support hero in this formation. And there we go. There's the blind. Look at the fear up here. We can pause it. Look at right here. There's the fear. That is the blind or the crowd control that is up on these targets. So it does also reduce, the magical efficiency and the accuracy of the heroes in this formation that are feared up here. And you can see the little blinking blind that is up there. So that's how it works. And I hope I explained it well, Iron. And again, a lot of beasts, as you build the beasts up higher, has really a game-changing difference. Some of the beasts don't work in specific formations. Some of them excel in a lot of different formations. But all right, guys, oh, before I forget, I almost forgot to do the membership. I love doing the membership gifting. We do this every single time. It's the cool little hippos that you see right next to some of the players' names in there. Let's go ahead and get that. It'll pop up in just a minute with the gifting of the memberships. We like doing it, and I love doing it every single time we do a live stream. And it goes out to EF. So F gets a gifting of the membership. So the little hippo is going to be present if they drop a message in there. Waken Thoren doesn't seem good, and that's because of the Ruthless. Yeah, I don't know where Thoren and if Thoren is going to be used. Right now, guys, like I said, I would probably give Thoren 2 or 3 weeks, see exactly if and where he's being used, because it's kind of questionable. Again, on test server, we are not seeing the Awakened version of Thoren being used on the test server, which always puts a big question mark with if and where is he going to be used. And honestly, if he just falls into a formation where he's kind of a niche formation, not really the best in slot, I don't feel like a lot of players are going to focus and really build him out like they would or how they kind of expected, just based on where the hero is used. Always, and I stress this, guys, wait to build the new hero. Wait to see exactly where the new hero is being used before you go ahead and pump all of your resources in there. Because when it comes to the Awakened heroes, not only the sheer cost of how high they are, but when you look at the priority list, there are so many heroes that we have in AFK Arena that have a huge priority to build. I would wait and see exactly where he is going to be. Is Rem still good? Yes. And the reason why Rem is still good is because if Mystical, you don't have all of the heroes in AFK Arena built, Rem and Ulna will still be used in a ton of different formations. If you don't have the Awakened version of Eron being used, you know, Rem is, of course, going to be used in a lot of different places. And again, this is where it kind of comes on where your account is built. For majority of players that are just, you know, either free to play or light spenders, Rem is going to be an absolute priority hero to come. And also the damage that Rem puts out, super high. But overall, we have to see exactly what it looks like. Again, when you think of damage, Rem puts out a crazy amount of damage. The utility of the hero doesn't change. They just get replaced with the power creep, is what we've seen. How about the Awakened Thoren plus Seal? Could work incredibly well. I don't know, because if you don't have a lot of heroes in there, the Seal's not going to get a lot of beast energy. We're going to have to see. We're going to have to see exactly what it looks like with Thoren. But all right, guys, so that is going to do it for today's stream. Again, thank you guys for all the love and support, the new subscribers to the channel, Estelle, and also after got the gifted membership in there. Very cool to see. Made a lot of progression today. Got a lot of emblems out of there, not only time emblems, but also those Stargazer scrolls, which is what we're looking to farm up. So guys, again, that is going to do it for today's stream. Thank you guys for joining me. And always, thank you guys for watching.